There we go. Well, to all of our shipmates across the nation and around the world, good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. We are coming to you live from the headquarters of the Chief of Naval Personnel in Washington, D.C., the nation's capital. I'm Commander Dave Hecht, your host for the next hour, and I am joined by CNP himself, Vice Admiral John Now, and Fleet Master Chief Wes Koschhofer. Admiral, before we get to the questions, and we've got a lot of good ones for you, would you like to make any opening remarks?
Yeah, I'd just like to say one, thank you for all the folks that have joined us. I know we've got somewhere between 300 to 400 or so folks online. Let me give a shout out to Fort Meade, 30 sailors there doing a watch party. Probably not as good as the Super Bowl, but we'll try not to disappoint you. But we're excited to hear from all of you. We just had great career development symposiums in Jacksonville, Kings Bay, and Mayport last week, thanks to those sailors. But this allows us to get to more sailors, to take your questions. Anything we can't answer, we will get you an answer. But it's an important time in our Navy. We're back to great power competition, high-end warfare. It's a maritime era. We're building the Navy the nation needs, and that means that we need all of you. We're going to manage your talent differently, and so we're changing policy and process, and we're transforming all of that. And so Fleet and I are really looking forward to talking to you about that, and again, getting after your questions. Fleet?
Yes, sir. It is exciting to be in Navy HR. Don't know that I would have thought that years ago, that it'd be exciting to be in the policy department or sometimes the complaint department, but we got a lot going on. You know, we're in a growing Navy. One of the things that I'm very proud of in our workforce across Navy HR is we brought in 38,000 2 years ago, 39,000 sailors last year, and we have a goal this year of over 40,000 sailors to grow the Navy, which is incredible. So my hat's off from our recruiters to our RDCs to our schoolhouse instructors, everybody in between and out to the fleet as we grow this Navy. Through our Sailor 2025 initiative that we're out on the road talking about all the time and blowing up social media with updates on, we're transforming the way that we interact with you, from your pay and personnel to the way we advance, promote, and just the way we manage careers. We're transforming the way we train and develop talent through Ready Relevant Learning, and we're transforming the way that we interact and support our families. And so what it's really all about is getting to an integrated pay and personnel system where we can make easy stuff easy. We want to pay you on time with minimal effort. We want to return time to you so you can concentrate on high-end war fighting and learning your craft. And to me, that's just exciting to be involved in that. We're in a war for talent, and we're going to win that war. We're really getting some incredible sailors into the Navy soon.
Concur, Fleet, and you are that talent. So I think we're ready to move on to some questions here, Dave.
Absolutely, sir. Now, when we announced the Facebook Live a couple of weeks ago, 300 of you immediately sent us questions. So we want to acknowledge some of those questions we got a couple of weeks ago. And then once we get through these first 5, which cover a lot of the categories, then we'll start going into the questions that you at home and you in the office are starting to send us on Facebook. So with that, the first question to you, Admiral, is one that I'm sure you're very familiar with and one that many people have been talking about over the past month or so. And that is the question of PFB and beards.
Yeah.
The question is, why am I not allowed to have a beard when women can have ponytails, fingernail polish, and earrings? I can somewhat see the argument on ships, but what about those on shore duty?
Sure. So let me just let's just talk broadly for a minute about beards. And this is something that we've looked at. We continue to look at it. When we're talking about afloat, I think we get very little disagreement. This is about risk to mission, risk to force. This is about keeping you safe, about keeping your shipmates safe, about keeping your ship or wherever you are, whatever team you're in, safe. And the Safety Center has done 2 surveys and actual in-depth studies here over the last couple of years. The most recent being last year. It came out in December. And the bottom line is that any amount of facial growth, of hair growth, will impede the seal of your oxygen breathing apparatus for either fighting fires or for a gas mask. So we get very little pushback on that at sea. I will mention to you that in looking at that, and in really looking at our PFB policy, which was very, very outdated. We needed to update that. And again, the issue is, how do we make sure that for sailors that are suffering from pseudofollicular barbitis, okay, don't ping me on that. All right.
Pseudofolliculitis barbae.
Thank you. So thank you, Fleet, as usual. But PFB, look, that's a medical condition. You don't choose to have that, and we get it. And we're going to make sure that if you have that, we work with you to go ahead and get you medical treatments. They range from special creams to special razors to even laser treatments to go ahead and get after it. And the issue is, we're not going to kick anybody out. Anyone who works with us on this, we're going to go ahead and make sure that we keep you in the Navy, and we're going to try and get that condition treated. It's just we didn't want permanent no-shave chits, because that wasn't safe for sailors, wasn't safe for your shipmates. Now, I know that as we look at ashore, we continue to get the questions on, okay, well, fine, we get it at sea, why not ashore? And quite frankly, this is one where it's been about good order and discipline. It's been about uniformity. It's been about looking sharp. And again, the Navy, like all the rest of the services, hasn't gone down that path yet. But I'm not saying that we're not looking at it. And I'm not saying that it's not something that we're not willing to consider in the future. But that's kind of where we stand right now. Fleet, anything you want to add?
I'd say it's certainly a topic. I think when I'm talking to sailors and we're out and about, that, like you said, it's a logical argument why at sea, and we got enough data to support that. I personally went outside the Navy and I looked at some firefighting blogs, I looked at some OSHA standards and other industries just to make sure we weren't off on an island by ourselves. And there's a lot of correlation to that safety aspect. A little more challenging when we're talking ashore, and I believe we're getting a lot of feedback from sailors. We're talking to senior leaders, and it's not a dead issue. I'd say that.
No, it's not. Hey, let me add one last thing though when it comes to this. I have to be totally honest with you. It drives me crazy when a sailor says, you gave women ponytails and different fingernail polish, why won't you give me a beard? That's not the argument to use with me to go ahead and start that discussion. You don't have to use that argument with me. It's not a quid pro quo, okay? So when you look at how we're doing everything with uniforms and with sort of how we carry ourselves and what we're wearing to how we groom, etc., we have a bi-monthly uniform focus group. Anyone and everyone is welcome to join that. That's designed to get fleet feedback, and it's a way for us to take what we hear on the road, what we get in forums like this, what you tell us, and to then go ahead and sort of work through it in a deliberate but a quick manner to make changes that make sense. We know that you're tired of uniform change after uniform change.
Yes, sir.
And you know, we are all about trying to simplify, trying to make the sea bag easier for you to maintain, and quite frankly, to make sure that whether it's PT gear, whether it is female uniforms, where we actually have done studies to see what works for a female versus a male, okay, or regardless of gender, what is it that you're looking for, and then how can we try and make that work where it makes sense? Common-sensical changes, but looping back around to the beards. We know it's a hot topic. We know many of you want it, and I'll be quite honest with you, I get it even within my family from some service members. I think Fleet may hear a little bit about it as well, because we both have you know, children who are in the Navy, and so they give us an earful there. It's something that we're looking at.
About many subjects.
True, but it's something that we're looking at, and we will keep you informed as we go down that path.
Okay. All right, so we've got about 500 people online now watching,
Great.
Sir. Because we only got an hour for this, we're going to try to keep you guys to 3 minutes per question, because we've got a lot of questions rolling in. You were talking about uniforms just a second ago, sir, and that's actually the next question we're going to cover. Over to Fleet on this one. Sailor wants to know, I am uncomfortable staring at a female's chest to see her rank. It's hard to identify even from just a few feet away in the type 3s. Why can't we go back to ranks on 8-point covers or somewhere different on the uniform blouse?
Yeah, great question. And I brought a prop knowing that we were going to work on this question a little bit. So I brought my 8-point cover, and just to work backwards through this, we decided to take the rank off the cover to align with our Marine Corps brothers and sisters and the Naval Forces. On the Marine Corps uniform, they have the eagle, globe, and anchor. We went on our uniform with the ACE logo, anchor, Constitution, and eagle. We were trying to save you some cost to the sailor, and again, streamline the sea bag and keep them with our uniform strategy. Since we've done that, we have gotten an earful of feedback. One of the issues, visibility of the rank insignia on the chest, and the fact that female sailors, many, have communicated they are uncomfortable with that. So armed with that information, we're kind of feeding that back into our uniform process, our calculator. In fact, CNP has a small scale prototype test going in his front office where we've looked at collar devices and other ways to either improve the visibility or try another thing. So we're not ready to immediately reverse and go back to the rank on the hat, but we hear you about the uncomfortable gaze, and we hear you on the visibility issue with the rank insignia, and we're just going to go to work on that problem. It's going to take us a little bit. We don't want to knee-jerk back the other direction so quickly, but we'll solve that, and your input will be important in that. So,
Fleet, I'd actually like to follow up that question with, I'm noticing a lot of comments online from people saying that, specifically female sailors, that they don't like the unisex looks as far as uniforms go. Would you like to address the uniform unisex issue as well?
Yeah, I've certainly got a lot of that feedback. You know, we did make some policy changes. We moved towards some sort of unisex uniforms. Again, I've gotten a lot of feedback that says that might not have been a good policy move or the right way to go. So we're no longer pursuing any specific unisex uniform policy. And again, our strategy here is, in my words, we owe you a uniform that fits well, that wears well, that's appropriate to the environment that you're working in, with the best materials available at some cost that's affordable and makes sense. Yeah. Uniforms that will last, that you're proud to wear. And so without expanding the sea bag any further, in fact, continuing to try to simplify and narrow the sea bag, we're going to evaluate each of the uniform components.
Okay.
We have made some changes, positive changes on the female uniform side with fit and style and designs.
Yeah, I'll jump in there. So
Sure.
in 2017, in fact, we did an assessment, a formal assessment with called an anthropomorphic study that looked at the female form. It looked at uniforms. It looked at some of our dress uniforms, both officer and enlisted, to figure out, you know, hey, what would fit better? What did our female sailors prefer, and what would look better? And so that's what you see rolling out right now in the exchanges. So there's still plenty of improvements to be made, but that's where we'll be looking for your feedback. And what we want to make sure is that we don't surprise you with something, okay? I think that's what kind of got a lot of folks a little bit up in arms, and I understand that, where all of a sudden they said, wait a minute, you know, you're taking our bucket covers away. You know, how did that happen? So we will try and make sure you don't get surprised, that we have a forum to be able to talk about some of the changes that we're looking at. And again, if you want to be part of the conversation, there's a way to do that with this bi-monthly uniform focus group. That's where I get my feedback, and they report directly to me and to Admiral Jeff Jablon, who is our Director of Plans and Policy.
Yeah,
CNP.
And I would want sailors to know that we're not going to slow roll you to no. We're really listening to the feedback.
Yep.
We just want to make good decisions, so we want to feed it into our uniform working group, get out and get a pretty good survey of the fleet and make sure we get it right, and we don't start rolling things out that we immediately get feedback on to retract. I think that's the big lesson learned in how we manage uniforms. So we're listening. Please continue with the feedback, and we'll work on the things that you're not satisfied with.
curve.
The way I'm hoping things are happening where people are watching right now, we now have over 1,000 people online watching us. I'm hoping that this is in offices where you've got 6, 7, 8 sailors all getting together around a computer. So keep tuning into us. And I'm glad that the audience is building, because this probably is going to be one of the most important questions of the day. And the question to you, CNP, is suicide numbers keep going up and up and up. The answer is simple: better mental health care. But we can't get there if it takes weeks to be seen by a provider. What is the Navy doing to reduce the wait times?
Yeah, so let me just say thank you for that question. We share your concern. Navy leadership at all levels shares that concern, and the numbers are alarming. Last year, we had the highest number of suicides that we've seen, in recent past. And so we know that we have to all continue to get after it. And quite frankly, we know that what we've been doing in the past has not been working all that well. So I'm going to answer broadly, and then I'm going to nug down kind of specifically on the question with respect to the health clinics. The first is we're approaching how we look at what we were calling destructive behaviors. Think suicides, think sexual harassment or sexual assault, think DUIs or alcohol-related incidents, those kinds of things. And in the past, we've really looked at that, and it's been a culture of compliance. You know, if you do this, and I'm talking something like sexual harassment or sexual assault. If you do this, then we're going to punish you. What I'd rather do is make sure that we're celebrating signature behaviors where commands have respectful command climates that don't tolerate any kind of disrespectful behavior or interaction with our shipmates. And we know that where we have those commands, we have less numbers of the kind of destructive behaviors that we were talking about. So you're going to see us getting after that in a more concerted fashion. You'll hear us talking about this culture of excellence, right? So the other piece of this is now to the suicides. We are worried right now because a lot of our young sailors that are coming in, they're spending somewhere between 3.5 to 5.5 hours a day on their social media device. When they do that, this idea of connectedness, of who do I go to, how do I work through those feelings of stress and anxiety that we all have, how do I deal with that? At very senior levels and very junior levels that becomes an issue. But I think with the cohort that's coming in now, the centennials who are just as bit as great as our millennials, who are just as bit as great as our baby boomers, et cetera, that is a little bit bigger issue. And so Fleet, I'm going to ask him to talk to you about warrior toughness on the clinics. We're talking with the Surgeon General and with BUMED about that specific question. Do we have enough mental health providers at our clinics? How are we parsing the appointments? When you go, and if someone goes to the clinic, how long does it take to see a behavioral health counselor? And then if they need to get to a specialty clinic, then how long does that take? So one of the problems that we're running into, to be frank with you, is that the same kind of mental health providers that we're looking to increase the numbers in the Navy, and we are increasing the numbers, okay? Everybody on the outside, the hospitals, other clinics, the civilian world, they're going after those same folks. So we'll continue to fight that. We will continue to go ahead and work through kind of the appointment scheduling piece and all. But let me make sure that right now that whether it's you, and oh, by the way, there should be no stigma in asking for help. Please know that it doesn't end your career if you say, I need to take a knee right now to go ahead and get after it. I'm going to spend a little bit, this is a really important question, so we're going to spend a little bit more time on it. But we have deployed resiliency counselors on our big deck amphibs and on our carriers. We've increased those numbers. We've increased the number of life counselors at the Fleet and Family Service Center. If you have a friend or if you have experienced suicidal ideations at the Fleet and Family Service Center, we have a program called SAIL, Sailor Assistance and Intercept for Life. Those are counselors, not in uniform, not someone that would intimidate folks, that you can go and talk to. And so we find that commands are doing a great job referring sailors to SAIL, but then, and to the tune of about 98, 99% referrals, but then only about 54% of sailors are making use of that service. Please, if you have a friend or if you need someone to talk to and you're not comfortable in your command or with your friends, take advantage of that. The other thing that we're trying to do is how do we build up our resilience, our toughness to deal with everyday stress and strain. And so we're starting that now at all of our accession sources. Fleet, do you want to tell us about Warrior Toughness?
Yes, sir. Program that we started just a year and a half, 2 years ago, piloting, and is really gaining some traction now, called the Warrior Toughness Program at RTC, where at the very beginning of boot camp, we're spending some time working through a mind, body, soul approach, talking through techniques and strategies, goal setting, of how to manage stress and how to keep moving forward in the face of some adversity. And it's really starting to bear some fruit there, not only with the sailors going through RTC, but with the staff there. So we know we're on to something. Being in the Navy, stressful environment, and we owe you some training and support on how to manage that stress and deal with that. So we'll continue to work that and expand it. We've also baked into our enlisted leader development programs the opportunity to learn how to go kneecap to kneecap, eyeball to eyeball, and give feedback to each other, or just communicate. And we think that's important in an era of electronic media, social media, and a lot of times on our phones. I want to close kind of this section by saying the sailors have done exactly what we asked you to do. If you see something, say something, intervene, act, take action, talk to each other. And now that you've gone forward to look for the mental health resources or get to a counselor, we owe you some timely response from those counselors. So you've held up your end of the bargain. But there's not a program around that's going to solve all of this for us. The bottom line, we know what some of the triggers are: relationship issues, financial issues, people facing big life changes or disciplinary action. We just need to be connected, and we need to be looking out for each other. It's that family aspect and the connection that's really going to make inroads on this problem. So we're going to work the programmatics. We have it for action to go increase access and shorten those wait times. We will roll out programs to help with it, but it really comes down to us and our human interaction here.
Yeah, it's shipmates taking care of shipmates. That's not the be-all to end-all. But I'll just ask that each one of us take a round turn, and we're coming up on the holidays. And you know, the holidays for many of us are a very joyful time, but for some shipmates, not so much. So please, look to your left, look to your right. When you're out and about, if you spot somebody you think needs a little help, make sure that you go ahead and talk to them and talk to the chain of command. And no harm, no foul. Their career will be just fine.
Okay, very good. Yeah, see something, say something. There's nothing worse than living with the guilt of seeing something, not saying something, not doing something, and then the ramifications. Fleet, next question is for you. I like seeing someone face to face when I have a personnel issue. Why are we shutting down all the PSDs?
Well, we're going to just a different way to provide services as we transform our Navy HR into a singular pay and personnel system. The way we deliver those services is changing. We've modeled sort of our tiered service delivery after a lot of other industry standard and professionals. Think USAA, call centers, websites, self-service as much as possible. We're not doing away with the human interaction, but we think a lot of routine work can get done routinely just using electronic systems, and we can buy back a lot of time. We're never going to replace the ability for a sailor to engage with a leader and go get a pay or personnel issue resolved. But we do want to start driving our sailors toward our Marine Navy Career Center call center, to some of our self-service delivery. We've now got a 24-hour-a-day, 7-day-a-week call center that you can engage via chat or a phone call if you're having an issue, get questions answered, and just start the service delivery that way. And when we can't solve it there, then we start bringing it to the other professionals, we generate a trouble ticket, and we work it that way. We're also still going to have some regional support centers in our fleet concentration areas just to be able to have that human-to-human interaction when we need it. But the way we're living in our personal lives, doing a lot of our banking online, just on the phone, we're trying to make simple things simple. The apps and the things that we're rolling out are only a part of the way that we're trying to transform our way we do service delivery. So we know there's a couple of growing pains. If you're a sailor out there that's having a pay issue or a travel claim issue, engage with your leaders, go to the CPPA, drive it into our call center. We'll generate a trouble ticket and keep working that way, and we will make sure that we get you paid in a timely manner. To me, that's about correcting maybe a say-do gap that exists in the Navy. And what I mean by that is we can tell you that you're the greatest thing since sliced bread, you're the true asymmetric advantage, but if we make you stand in line and fill out forms in triplicate and jack up your pay, you kind of have a hard time believing that's true. So we are committed to getting this right. Keep your feedback coming. Please check out our apps and work it that way, and we'll continue to try to communicate through this transition into our new service delivery model.
And again, the phone number, if you want to get a hold of the My Navy Career Center, 833-330-MNCC, or you can send them an email at askmncc@navy.mil. It's really that easy. Yeah. Admiral, with the advancement quotas coming out yesterday, we have an advancement question. This is the last of the 5 online questions, or the questions that were emailed to us. We'll get to the online questions coming up next. The question for you as far as advancements, the exam specifically, is why did we take professional military knowledge off the advancement exam?
Good question.
Yeah, it is. It's a great question. So the Professional Military Knowledge Electronic Exam, the PMKEE, that actually came about because when Admiral Burke was CNP and he was out and about, one of his takeaways was that sailors were saying, hey, we're looking at the E4 exam, and we're not certain that we need an E4 exam. Why don't you just get rid of it? And he came back and he said, hey, let's take a look at this. And we looked at it. We looked at it with a lot of fleet involvement. You know, we're a very technical service. That means that we do want to make sure that when we advance folks, whether they're enlisted or officer, that they have the technical underpinning necessary for that next level. So but in looking at it, we also said, you know, we have these general military knowledge questions. Do we need to ask them every Navy-wide advancement exam? And do I really care if Fleet has memorized for his dress uniform what size badge, if he served, you know, at the White House, that he wears? And the answer is no. There's an app for that. So, and that's a simple example, but there are plenty of others. So we said, you know, what if we backed out kind of that general military knowledge, that professional military knowledge, still very important. I'm not telling you that we don't want you to know it, but I'm not worried about you using resources to go ahead and find it. There's some things we'd like you to know just right off the top of your head, right? But there's others where go look it up like we do everything else, right? Google it, etc., and it's not classified. So that's how we came up with, hey, let's back this out. Let's give ourselves more time and more questions on the exam for specific rating knowledge, more technical questions. And then for us also, we wanted to be able to let you take the exam, take it once at a particular pay grade, to then be ready for that next pay grade, and to do it out from behind an NMCI computer where it's hard to get on, or using paper and pencil on the device that you want to do it where you want to do it, okay? That's also helping us, because what we're trying to get to is this detailing marketplace. How do we blend monetary and non-monetary incentives? How do we go ahead and kludge together, okay, both CMS ID and eventually Seaway, so that as we look at getting you more choices to where you're going to go, what you're going to do, you can get a better say in that, and we can get a better fit, which is better readiness for the fleet. So the PMKEE was our first kind of toe in the water of how do we deliver on-demand exams electronically, and we've learned a lot, and you've given us a lot of feedback here. So it served a couple different purposes.
Yeah, imagine a world where when you're ready to be evaluated for advancement, you've got the eval, you've got the time and rate, you've been examined sort of locally by your chief, signed off by your command as being ready to advance. Then we push an electronic advancement exam to you, and we calculate your final multiple score, and then when we have vacancy to promote, we promote. So sort of a future world. PMKE is a really good test of how that might work, just us learning how we might deliver something like that in the future.
Okay. Yeah. Before we get to the next question, I do want to remind everybody out there that we put out a lot of information, and so for all of you out there, please follow us at USN People on Facebook, on Twitter, on Instagram. We put out lots of great information, news that you can use that affects you and your career and your families. So please follow us at USN People, Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Admiral, our first live question, this is coming from a shipmate named Roy Duffy. Roy, we're getting to your question here. After what looks like a tough cycle for advancement, are there going to be any more changes to the Navy advancement test?
Yeah. So, you know, so first of all, it's been a little bit of a journey as we brought back MAP, right? As we expanded it to the 2 seasons, overlaying it on top of the Navy-wide advancement exam. And then as we pulled the PMK questions out of that rating exam. So I think what we've got right now is kind of what you're going to see here for the next few years. You know, the exams themselves get reviewed on a regular basis. The way that works is that the community that you're in, whoever sort of owns your particular rating, so think gas turbine systems specialist, you know, a GSE or a GSM, that would be the surface warfare community primarily. So they will get together to go ahead and then look at those test questions periodically. And it happens about every year to 18 months or so. Yes, so they are continually evaluated and updated. But just to kind of loop back to what Fleet mentioned, what we're looking at in the future is what if we could deliver an advancement exam on demand. So you tell us when you think that you're ready to advance. I know when a billet's opening up, and I incentivize it either by an advance to position, where you may go from E5 to E6, or we've also done it at more senior levels, E7 and E8 to E8 and E9. I might incentivize it by SRB. I might incentivize it by a bundled detail. I want to say in the same place, or if I go here, will you then send me there? Or education, or you name it. There are a number of things. You know, different people are incentivized by different options, and so eventually, what we want to do is to be flexible and agile enough to be able to give you that advancement exam when you're ready, when you have the proficiency and experience for it, and then when we think that there's an opportunity. And then we give you that, we prove that you have the technical knowledge, and then we're ready to go ahead and advance you to that next position, and we pay you for it.
Yeah.
So
yeah, we talked about at our CDS in Southeast during our advancements discussion, the concept of a real-time running rank order for sailors. That's really neat. If we had the advancement exam results already, we knew what your eval was, we know your award points, we're using the electronic exam worksheet as it is now, we kind of already know what your final multiple score is at any given time. And then when we need to advance some folks because there's vacancy in that next pay grade, we'd be able to just reach out, send you an email or an email to your command team saying, please congratulate Petty Officer Smith, who is being promoted to the next pay grade. One concept I think is important, I just want to talk about for a second. To really wrap your brain around advance to position, you have to look at advancement sort of through a certain lens. Some people think that being advanced in the Navy or the next pay grade is about recognition of what you've done or sort of a reward for your hard work. Really, the way we should look at advancement is the pay grade that you're in is the work that we expect from you and will kind of demand of you as the Navy. Right? We expect E6 work for E6 pay, right. E7 work, E9, et cetera. And that's sort of how advanced position works. Those that are being selected now for advanced position to take a really hard job to go be an RDC or a recruiter and a few other locations in hard jobs, they're agreeing, they've already passed the test, they've got solid evals, and they're agreeing to go do a hard job for us, and we're willing to pay you to go do that job. You've already demonstrated a readiness to advance, and we're just accelerating that a little bit. So, you know, advanced position is now going to be a part of the detailing marketplace and the way we advance sailors.
It's great to see what's on sailors' minds with these questions, and this is one that's...
Well, let's go back to Roy. So,
okay.
Right, hey, Roy, how about letting us know, did that answer your question or not?
Yeah, so let us know on Facebook. And
do that, and if it didn't, then we'll loop back around on you.
Okay. Jamie Mosteller has the next question, and Jamie would like to know, are we still going to a new evaluation system as stated in NAV Admin 279 TAC 18? So they do read the NAV admins.
Yeah, so thank you for that. Hey, and so, you know, NAV admins are important, and what I really like is that you're staying abreast of what's going on, and that's pretty important.
They're holding us to account for something we put in that NAV as also important.
As well you should. Hey, so let me just tell you where we are with the performance evaluation transformation. It's very rare now when I'm on the road that I get any kind of pushback on folks saying, we just love the evaluation system the way it is right now, will you please leave it the way it is? That does not mean that based on the way we're writing fit reps and evals right now that we're not getting it right with the folks that we are promoting or that we are advancing. But this is a 21st century. Behavioral science and the way that we do these things has really changed since 1995, 1996, when we changed the fit rep and eval system before, and most of us have had to put up with rolling to a command, being there for a while, and getting the new guy or the new gal P. And most of us didn't much like it. Most of us have had to wait our turn to get an EP breakout, or many of us have suffered because it didn't quite work out. Maybe the reporting senior transferred, you know, before we thought. Maybe, you know, there's all kinds of reasons that it's not the optimum system for what we need to use it for now, which is more with respect to true talent management and with respect to more counseling than just writing something for the board or for the test. So what are we doing with that? Well, one, we've done about 3 field tests with the fleet and with tens of thousands of sailors. The way that we've worked through how this would actually work and be executed, it's a little bit clunky with the way that we're doing it right now to just kind of do some proof of concept. But we're to the stage now, we're here in the spring, we're going to be rolling out our coaching tool in production to get it out to the fleet, to let you start using it. And so 2020 is going to be the year of the coaching tool, okay? We're going to learn from that. I can't hurt you with the coaching tool, okay? Most of us think that we can probably do better with things like midterm evaluations anyway, and this will replace the midterm evaluation. This is a way for you to get better feedback from seniors to subordinates, subordinates to seniors, or from peers to do it more frequently, to do it easier, to do it, you know, notionally on your handheld device or a tablet, to do it quickly, all of those things. But we will use what we get feedback-wise from the coaching tool, and then we'll build that into the evaluation and the fit rep tool that will come out in 2021, and then we'll have a very deliberate plan to transition, and there will be a parallel path to make sure that we don't hurt folks in the process. But so that's what's going on with performance and evaluation.
We are in our last 20 minutes, unless we're able to dip a little bit into your schedule, sir. But so this is more of a rapid fire round here. Rob Lamphere.
That's not our strength. We'll do our best.
Rob Lamphere asks.
Fleet will keep me honest.
He will. Can you bring back more TA? The current amount isn't enough to make the journey to get your degree. It makes the journey to get your degree much longer. Fleet, question.
I'll talk about that. Last year, our last cycle, we ran out of TA money. So we introduced a policy called 2-12-120, meaning that you got to have 2 years time and service in the Navy to begin using your TA benefit. We think that makes sense. Get your feet wet in the Navy, learn your trade, get situated where your final duty station is going to be, then you can start accessing TA. No more than 12 semester hours in a year. That's full-time college. You know, we think that that is a reasonable way to approach that. And then the 120 is 120 semester hours of TA, sort of lifetime there. That's depending on the school. That's 4 credits shy of a bachelor's degree, which I think is around 124. So you can close that gap by taking a CLEP or taking advantage of other access, credentialing, ACE accreditation of schools that we've sent you to in the Navy, et cetera, or perhaps you got to meet us there to close the gap and take 1 course out of your pocket. And for right now, that's kind of the best that we can do with the money that we have allocated. What we're finding is the appetite for access to college education is really high. So we continue to look at ways to increase our funding there. But I'll just say we did it because we had to, because we had limited funds. That's the bottom line. But I really feel like 2-12-120 is kind of a fair approach to making sure everybody can have access to work toward a degree in the Navy.
Yeah, okay. I'll add one quick thing, Dave. So also the Navy is working on establishing a Navy community college. We think that we'll get statutory legal authority for that in the National Defense Authorization Act coming up next year. There is a Chief Learning Officer for the Navy that the Secretary of the Navy has established. There's a lot of focus on this. So some of this, you need to be a continual learner, whether it's reading, podcast, however you learn. Some of it's us helping to get you some of that TA. Some of it is on the job training or ready relevant learning. And then you'll be seeing this Navy Community College come out too, because we cannot keep pace with technological change without working at it ourselves, and we know we need to help you better there, like Fleet said.
We have got 450 questions online. I just want you to know, if we don't get to your question on the broadcast, we will get an answer for you on Facebook. So
absolutely, we
will get you an answer. The next question comes from Anonymous, and Anonymous, you get right to something I'm very interested in. I stink at the curl-ups for the PRT. The question from Anonymous is, when are we going to put out the criteria for the new plank requirements for the next PRT cycle?
Let me take that one.
1 minute or less.
1 minute or less. Done. So hey, having done my planks for this morning, I've had back surgery recently, so I can't do curl ups. So I'm doing planks, and so we know that's better for you. We're right now for planks and for the rower. They'll both be optional starting in the fall of 2020, and we need the spring. We're doing a fleet pilot right now to go ahead and make sure that we get the scoring tables right, so that we can give you the right score. But that'll be coming out for the fall 2020 PRT.
As we speak, sailors are testing the modality right now so we can build those tables. So definitely in progress and not a pie in the sky initiative. We're working it. We really will be rolling it out.
Absolutely. And if we went over 1 minute, it was your fault.
Yes, sir. Humble apologies.
Check.
Somebody's even also told me that by doing the plank, it's a good lead-in to, it helps you with your push-ups.
Well, you'd be warmed up.
Yeah, absolutely.
We're trying to figure that out.
Okay, multiple people have asked this same question. What is the point of applying for orders on CMS ID if the detailers are just going to plug and play you where they want you?
Yeah. So let me tell you what's coming out in December. My Navy assignments is going to be the next rollout. You're never going to see CMS ID again. Now, Let me give you ground truth. My Navy Assignments is CMS ID on steroids. It's a new graphical user interface. We're going to show you all of the billets so that you have complete transparency. For the PAC sailors, you're going to be able to work your designation and your follow-on orders via My Navy Assignments. It's also going to have something called a commonality matrix, so that as you look at what's common between your rating and perhaps if you're looking at other ratings that you might want to cross-convert to, you can see where you would have the most luck doing that. Right now, that you're going to be able to look at it. In the future, we'll actually automate it, where then that will help drive the options. And then you're going to be able to tell us, what looks best to you. You can go ahead and in your sailor resume on My Navy Assignments, you can sell yourself. You can talk to us about your proficiency, experience, and what kind of qualifications you've got. And then commands will also be able to look and then kind of do a rack and stack. So we know that you want more visibility, you want transparency, you want flexibility and options. We think that we can meet that need and that we can do that while giving a better fit for the Navy, which is better readiness. And so My Navy Assignments coming out the 5th of December. You'll see more on it, but that's a start. It's not going to be perfect. Some will like it, some will not. I don't want you to think I'm over-promising, but it's a step toward this detailing marketplace that I told you about. Let me assure you, there is no secret list of billets. There is no secret list of sailors who are really special, okay, and that we give those billets that we won't show you. We're going to show you all the billets. We are going to prioritize what's most important, and they will get filled first. But you can go in and you can bookmark billets so that you follow them over successive cycles. I think you're really going to like it. And tell us what you like and what you don't like.
We have a great product that we put out every month. It's the Sailor to Sailor newsletter. Send us an email at usnpeople@navy.mil. Just say in the subject line, add me. We'll put you on that distro and you'll get that product every month. Lots of great news that you can use on that.
Okay.
Next question comes to you, Fleet, and it is from Taylor Pashal. And Taylor would like to know, will the list of eligible rates for SRBs be updated for this new fiscal year?
Yeah, as a matter of fact, good timing. We're just about to roll out an SRB update, nav admin, and then update the website, follow on to that. No promises as to which ratings will have the increases or decreases in SRB. Every time we look at that, it's solely based on what the retention rates are in those individual ratings. And it's kind of an emotional subject out on the road among sailors. If you're in a rating that's got really good retention, is super healthy, there's not a lot of selective re-enlistment bonus money in that rating because sailors are re-enlisting. We don't need to kind of spend money there. So to predict where the SRB money will be used, it's the ratings where we have a lot of challenge retaining people and where the community health isn't so great, where we really need to retain. On a side note, our retention is off the charts good. I know CNP, we've had upwards of 76% total retention. When I first heard that last year, I almost fell out of my chair, but something's going right in the Navy, and sailors are choosing to stay Navy. What we're going to see in the detailing marketplace is we're going to start to try to incentivize you where to go. To the sailor a moment ago, if you really got jammed with a set of orders that you just can't live with, that's going to hurt you and your family, call us, call your detailer, let us talk to you. But we're really trying to get to transparency, flexibility, and choice. And we think the marketplace is going to help meet all those needs. Needs of the sailor, needs of the Navy. So sailors that have seen it so far are pretty excited. And there'll be monetary incentives. There sort of always will be in the detailing marketplace.
Very good. Admiral, a question from Bryce McCain that really hits on the home front and with the families. Bryce would like to know, would it be possible to change the convalescent leave policy to include caregivers for active duty parents whose child requires at-home care post-surgery?
Yeah, you know, our problem there, one, thank you for that question. Our problem there is that we have to follow the OSD policy there. So
Law.
it's the law, and then it's the policy from OSD. So there's regular leave there. I would mention that as we look at primary and secondary caregiver leave, we have increased those here over the last couple of years. But I do totally understand your question and your concern with it, but that's not something that I can offer right now just because of that policy piece. Although we do take this kind of feedback as we're talking with OSD, or as we look at what kind of legislative proposals that we want to push to try and get some statutory relief. But right now, what I tell you is, work with your command. Regular leave, that's one of the things that regular leave is there for, and I think your command will work with you.
I travel with both of you when we go around the country visiting sailors, and so every time we travel, I can attest, you both make a trip to the gym. So this is a question I'd like to throw out to both of you. Can we make gyms 24 hours with CAC accessibility with video surveillance like the Air Force?
You want me to take that, or you want to take it?
I'll take a stab at it, and we can tag team it.
Okay.
We've examined 24-hour fitness centers in the past. We actually have a couple of unmanned fitness facilities around the Navy. They work pretty good. We're limited in what we could put into them from a safety perspective. If you're a weightlifter, you'll understand this, that having an unmanned fitness facility with a squat rack, power cages and those things makes leadership nervous. So, the video surveillance aspect or maybe a response capability is an interesting wrinkle. I don't know if we've evaluated that before, but fitness is a priority.
Yeah.
Our 24-hour fitness test manned facilities didn't work out so well. There was a lot of demand, a lot of questions, and the usage rate just wasn't there to justify the money. But happy to go engage with CNIC and ask them where we are in that journey. And
let me jump in there, Fleet, because I'm with you. I fairly recently came from Sasebo in Okinawa, the gym in Sasebo, great gym, and it did have a 24/7 capability. Scenic does own the gyms, I don't, but we're in a pretty active dialogue there, and there is an issue with the resourcing piece. There's an issue with the liability piece. Because they do worry if someone hurts themselves, do they have the ability to get them help? And so that's kind of what they're working through, but that's something that's a work in progress.
Okay, very good. When will the leader development, this is a question for you,
okay.
Admiral, when will the leader development course become mandatory? Has the ELD continuum execution reached a steady state per NAV Admin 185 TAC 19?
Yeah, I'm going to start, and then I'm going to give this to Fleet, because some of you may be aware, but Fleet, when he was Command Master Chief at the Navy Leadership and Ethics Command, actually was kind of pioneered what we're doing with the enlisted leader development. Leadership development starts with the most junior enlisted sailor and officer sailor. Okay, and we've got a ladder that goes up, that at each career milestone, officer or enlisted now, is going to go ahead and provide some formalized, deliberate training on leader development, because that's critical. And every one of us is a leader. So let me start by telling you that's really critical. And then actually, Fleet, I really liked your answer when we were in, I think it was Jacksonville last week. Can you talk to them about when will it become mandatory?
Yeah, so we really just rolled this out. We just, that NAV admin last year, sundown, so it was earlier this year, just sundown the Petty Officer Selectee Leader courses and brought online these new courses. Our first sort of data call to see how we're doing there shows there's a lot of activity. Sailors are getting to those classes. We're training and certifying the chiefs to deliver them, and the feedback is really good with the courses. One of the reasons we went away from tying it to advancement was they were tied to frocking. And we just released advancement results, which means right now people would be trying to validate or verify whether people have completed, or when we're going to complete your INDOC course so that we can frock. So this year we don't have that pressure. This year, we just want you to get into your new pay grade and pursue getting to one of the leader development courses. The last thing that we would want to do is tie this to advancement prematurely and then figure out we don't have enough time or resources to get you the course that you need to advance. So at least for a year or more, we want to get up into a stable operating model, make sure that we have enough instructors, enough spaces, the system is working to get sailors this training experience, which is really what it is. It's an investment in leaders. So we want to start there. If I was a betting man, I would say probably 2 years of solid run time to make sure that we can get sailors to the courses, that this will stand the test of time. And then if we need to tie it to advancement to ensure that people are meeting that requirement, then we'll evaluate that. So certainly not now, and more than likely not for the next 2 years.
Yeah, the feedback that we've gotten, though, is pretty positive, though, from the first couple of courses.
Many people online are asking this exact same question. Is there a way we can offer more 24-hour daycares around the fleet for sailors who stand duty?
Yeah, let me just tell you, I get that question every single place that I go. And I get it. I've got 3 kids, and we had to work through that as well. My wife's a school teacher, and so I've been both kind of the formal CDC many years ago. I've done the in-home provider, another sailor's spouse who provided that, and then I've also seen where my spouse stayed home, and that's a pretty important job. So I've been there, seen that, done it, I think, as has Fleet. We know that we're not meeting the need. Let me say that again. We know from the CNO on down that we're not meeting the need, and it's not for lack of trying. We have increased the number of seats for the CDCs by about 1,000 here this last year. Our problem is that the demand signal has grown by about somewhere around 5,000 to 6,000. Scenic is in charge of this, but Admiral Jackson and I talk regularly on it, and we're doing a lot to try and increase that capacity. We do need to get, we think, to something with 24/7 for our watch standards in some of those locations. And so this again is, it's kind of like going back to the mental health provider question. Right now there is a need exclusive of the military for child care providers in many places. And oh, by the way, the Navy is in places that people want to have businesses or want to live, right? I mean, we are not, you know, we're not in some of the places where there are other military bases where it's not hard to find, you know, child care workers who are willing to take the wage that we provide. And oh, by the way, we provide a pretty good wage and we get great child care providers. But so we're looking at innovative ways of getting after this, like public-private ventures, where we go to a company like a Google or an Amazon. You know, we say, hey, you're putting a new headquarters in. We know how to run child care. How about we run it for you and you give us 25% of the capacity? That's one way that we're trying to get after skinning that cat. It's not, I'd be lying if I told you that it's just a matter of throwing more money at it. We are throwing more money at it, but the problem is finding those folks to go ahead and do it.
I think some of the hard numbers there in our last briefing with CNIC were, you know, we got about a 9,000 child shortfall in child care. And next year, with everything that we can do to try to get after it, we'll shave about 1,000 out of that. So it's a tough problem. We know it's on your mind. Senior leaders are engaged in it, and hopefully some of these partnerships will bear some fruit in the coming years to help us out there.
Yeah, but shipmates, we clearly get the message, okay, and we do really care, and we'll continue to try and work it on the Hill, in the Navy, and then in your fleet concentration areas.
We are coming up on 1300, sir, and so we're going to ask our last question here.
Okay, here's the deal. So, for any of you that want to go do something, if you're bored, I mean, you're on Facebook, you do whatever the heck you want to do, right? But Fleet, I think, you know, I'm trying not to make eye contact with my aide, so why don't we keep going?
Okay.
Let's go for about another 15 minutes or so. I think I got to run to the Pentagon after that, but I'll try and, you know, I will eat a power bar in the car, so that we can do a few more questions.
We appreciate that, and I'm sure our viewers watching also appreciate that.
Absolutely.
Okay. All right, so then our next question, And Fleet, I think this is a good question for you. Although, sir, I know you have a trip coming up to Pensacola, home of Education and Training Command. So, question actually for both of you then. What is the Navy doing to ensure sailors are trained throughout their career and not just on the job, OJT?
Yeah, absolutely. That's RRL. That's the Enlisted Leader Development Continuum that we just rolled out. RRL is really just starting to gain some real traction, where we've rolled out the first modernized A school in OS A school. And what RRL is going to do for us is give us better training closer to the waterfront, so that we can do exactly that. Rather than absorbing the TAD costs and the investment of time to send you to one place around the country where the school is given, when we have the ability to do training sort of on the waterfront, formal and informal schools, we're going to be able to provide higher level technical training to more sailors, closer to their duty station. And that's exactly what we want to do. The point of RRL is to make sure that you have the skills you need to be successful in your job. That said, some ratings have a higher technical aspect to them and require more schooling, et cetera. But we believe, over the next couple of years, we'll be working through every single rating, developing a block learning construct so that you are getting exactly that. But OJT is important, right? What you learn in school, you apply on the deck plate. And leaders really grow when you're being challenged out there and learning things in situ, doing your job. So we're always going to have OJT in the way we develop leaders and how you learn to do your job. But we owe you quality technical training and training in general to be able to do your job. We think we're on that path. If in your rating and whoever asked a specific question, you don't think that's the case, give us some feedback. Talk to your community leaders and let us go to work on that, especially if you don't think you're prepared to do your job on board your ship, at your squadron, or in your rating.
Yeah, we just rolled out, incidentally, the first modernized day school, Operations Specialist Day School. We have 5 more that will roll out here this fiscal year. And then you'll see us, and this is a life cycle. This will keep going, and it'll take your feedback. But it really is. It's about getting virtual reality training, a little bit immersive and computer-based, some hands-on in a lab, some perhaps with your team. Think the LCS training facility. But we've got it out there. We're using it now, but we now need to expand it and scale it.
Sir, John Kruger asks, why can't we wear the coyote brown fleece with the Type 3 uniform?
Makes our uniform matters office is cringing right now at that question.
Yeah. So let me field that one. So that is something that we have looked at. Primarily, it's because the coyote brown was organizational clothing. I mean, so depending upon where you are, you can wear that. But the issue of when you start talking about back in the States, or when it's not something where you're wearing it because it's organizational clothing, we give sailors the black fleece in their sea bag for the boot camp, and quite frankly, we couldn't scale up. We looked at, okay, well, what if we made it optional? And the problem became the production capacity to do that. So it's not something that we've ruled out. If you think about the brown and black boots, right? We give commanding officers the ability to say, brown or black, you can wear, whichever ones you want. Oh, by the way, many more selections out there. So I wouldn't say that that's a done deal, but that's kind of that was the rationale for sort of the entering argument and saying, hey, we're not quite ready to go to that yet.
The people who are going to find out if there is a uniform change or any kind of policy change, the people that are going to find out first are the people that follow us on Twitter and Instagram and Facebook. So remember, at USN People. That's where you can find out all this great news that you can use, and you'll find it out first in your shop.
You earned your paycheck today plugging social media outlets.
I do my best.
Yeah,
here's a question for you, Chief Fleet. I think this is a great question. Is there anything that can be done to enable sailors to receive specific feedback regarding non-selection by the various boards, like the Chiefs Board or the commissioning programs, in order to enable sailors to eliminate weak areas?
Good question.
Yeah, that is we've heard that in many all hands call. Our very talented and aggressive first-class petty officers that want to make chief really want that feedback back from the board. The short answer to that question is based on the confidentiality of the board, and that it is a board where we swear in the members to be objective, to look at the records, that the direct link to feedback from the board is challenging, and we just haven't figured out how to do that yet. So the signal is there. We know you want more feedback. You want to improve professionally. You obviously want to make Chief Petty Officer. Help me out. I haven't been able to think through the link there, how we can do it. We know we're going to roll out a new performance evaluation tool that starts with coaching. We think that the precepts is pretty clear about what we're looking for at the board. Oh, by the way, every year after the board adjourns, the exact documents that were used to say this is what we value and this is how we screened records and this is kind of what we were looking for is published out to the fleet, so you can look directly at that. So I think right now my advice would be looking at the precepts from the board and then talking to your leaders locally, you can get a pretty good idea, and also looking at the enlisted career paths, what you might be missing and why you're not making chief.
Yeah.
But we'll continue to work on that, and it's a big high demand item. It's just a tough problem set to figure that out without busting board confidentiality.
It is, but all of us have and can go ahead and ask a shipmate, a leader, a mentor, to go ahead and take a look at our evaluations, our fit reps, what we've done, our commissioning package, to say, is there anything that you can spot that's an issue? Quite frankly, and more so on the officer side, the enlisted, but we're getting there. But the detailers will also tell you, hey, this is what you can do to bolster your chances. And typically, going somewhere hard and doing a good job is going to make you more competitive sometimes, depending upon what you're talking about. But again, I think you'll find few leaders that are not willing to go ahead and look at sort of your record and then give you some constructive advice. And I will tell you, I do it routinely at my level, as does Fleet. And it's not out of the ordinary that we come back from a detailing trip and we have a couple new mentees.
Yeah, so sustained superior performance in whatever job you're in is really what carries the day in all the boards. The thing, and I want to put a fine point on the thing that scares the chiefs when we have this discussion and we say, how can we give specific feedback is if we came out of a board and we told you were this close, you're on it, you're going to make it next year, and the competitive pool looks a lot different next year and you're not selected, that's a tough spot to be in for you. So message heard, we'll look at it, we'll figure out. I think the overarching thing is more feedback so that we can develop professionally in advance.
Okay,
and we owe you that.
I mentioned before that you guys hit the gym when you travel, and you might have bumped into Jarrett Knight, because Jarrett Knight sounds to me like a person who takes physical fitness very seriously, and he has very strong feelings on this question, and I'll read it exactly as written. Why did we stop administratively separating sailors who refuse to maintain PRT standards and letting them stay in? If they fail 2 in a 3-year period, they're just not trying.
You want me to take? We'll tag team.
I was, okay, I'm just going to see if you use my favorite line here.
Yeah, we closed the Food for Freedom program, and if you joined our Navy, and you can still serve in our Navy, we're going to expect you to work until the end of your obligated service. What failing PRTs or the inability to maintain standards is going to do for you is going to get you sent home at the end of that enlistment after you've done your job and served your time, served your country. So it's not a free pass. You're not able to re-enlist if you have these PRT failures. We do care about the PRT standard, but quite honestly, and this has been coming up in a lot of circles lately, our physical readiness test, our physical readiness program is really a health check. It's not a combat fitness test, and it's just one factor that we have to evaluate our sailors. For any number of reasons, some people may struggle to maintain their weight or drop the ball or have an injury or something happens where they drop a PRT. So I do PT a lot. I take it very seriously, but it's more in my lifestyle and total wellness. I like the way it makes me feel. I like the way it contributes in a lot of aspects to my life, and I meet the Navy standard. And I think that's really what we want for our sailors. And the idea that you would have to go home if you failed PRT, I can live with that.
Yeah, and let me just, and first of all, I don't want, I don't, for our shipmate who gave us a question, I don't want to make this sound like we don't share your concern for folks that are not passing the PRT. And what we want to do is concentrate on the wellness, and we want to help that shipmate be able to pass it. But the old policy, we were getting a ton of gaps at sea. And some of it was, Fleet in the past has said eating your way out of the Navy. And quite frankly, I know that sounds terrible, but that was a way that some folks said, it's pretty hard out here, and I do this, and I'm out, in 7 months, and oh, by the way, I can't get a replacement to your ship or squadron or boat or wherever you're at within that amount of time. So given the fact that it's a wellness check, but it wasn't a deployability test, we do have communities like EOD, like special operators, like SBs, swimmers. Right, swimmers, where there are job-related physical fitness tests, but that was the reason for that, was because we were causing a lot of gaps at sea that actually we think hurt more sailors than putting this change in place would.
Yeah, in the middle of a tour, we're destabilizing command manning by sending people home. We're just now waiting until you're end of obligated service to do it. So.
Did he say the line that was your favorite?
He did.
He did? Okay. My favorite Fleetism is that we're going to fix stupid fast. I like that one.
We're fixing stupid as fast as possible.
Well, that's actually, human-centered design in a nutshell, and what we're doing here in My Navy HR, which is, where does that come from? Feedback like we're getting on the Facebook Live, and when we're out at all hands calls and sailors approach us and they say, why do we do this? This is so stupid. And when we agree or we can and we bring it back, we fix that stuff as fast as we can. I guess the problem with that statement is, like with this PRT question, is how do you define stupid and whose perspective? But where we find the quick kills and the easy things, we are fixing stupid as fast as we can, that's for sure.
Yeah. Okay, so we're coming up on quarter after, so we're going to ask this one last question. And it's an interesting question because I know you're very excited about the number of apps that we've been rolling out.
Yeah.
And it's a different perspective. Jake Greenwood would like to know, what security measures are in place to protect our personal and professional information when we switch to mobile apps for our admin records maintenance? I do not trust being forced to use my personal phone to manage my records.
Yeah, let me jump on that, and then Fleet can pile on. So, that's a really good question, and I absolutely respect that concern. I am guessing, though, that you probably do banking on your personal phone. I'm guessing that if you have a wreck and you are working with USAA to go ahead and do your claim, that the you're using your personal phone and you're using multi-factor authentication, which is the industry standard, and which is what we're using for all of these mobile apps that we're getting out from behind the CAC card and NMCI. You have to use your CAC card with software called Okta to do an association to get that multi-factor authentication. So it is safe. As we're putting things in the cloud and we're going to the private cloud, your information is actually a heck of a lot safer there than it is at a server farm in Millington, Tennessee, where it's easier for somebody to hack into it. And we've looked at that and looked at it very, very seriously. So, I think what I'm telling you is that I hope that we'll be able to convince you that you should be comfortable and confident with that. And that's important because, last December, we rolled out our first mobile app using this Okta software. We did it right before Christmas. we determined that right before Christmas is not the best time to roll something out because both Android and iPhone did a software update. And so we found that we had a few issues, not with the multi-factor authentication so much as just getting that up. But so we've done 11 spirals on that MyRecord mobile, okay? We've rolled out the MyPCS mobile. So starting at the beginning of the summer, sailors could take a look at their orders. They could get a pre-populated checklist. That checklist would send them to forms that they needed to fill out. It would tell them for them or their family what did they need to do. They could sign up on the Child Development Center waiting list. They could sign up on the housing waiting list. In the middle of the summer, we rolled out that with the travel calculator, and actually that was the lien orders written in English. And then most importantly, in early September, we gave you the option to do a travel claim electronically. So you complete your travel, you go ahead and you take pictures of your receipts, you upload them. There's a pre-populated travel claim. Once that's done, you electronically sign it. It won't let you send it unless you've got everything uploaded and filled out. That helps us with the error rate, so it gives you faster processing time. But all of that is a way to make the service that we provide to you easier. It does not mean that you have to use that. Let me say that one more time.
That's where I was going to go.
Yeah, it doesn't mean that you have to use it. You can still use your NMCI machine, but a lot of sailors have problems getting on an NMCI machine, or it's not convenient for them when they want to do it. So that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to give you back time that you can concentrate on what's important for you. So I know we've gone over. Let me just tell you, if Fleet and I were not passionate about this, if we didn't care about you, then we wouldn't get out to the career development symposiums. We wouldn't ask you for your feedback, nor would we do a session like this, and it's really important. I suspect that some of the stuff that we have told you, some of you have probably gone, yeah, that makes sense. Others have probably said, I think that's a bunch of BS. And that's okay either way. We're going to tell you like it is. We're going to try and change things in a commonsensical way. We are warfighters, right? I'm a ship driver by trade, cruisers, destroyers, amphibs. Fleet is a submariner, clearly a target.
Nobody's buying that for a minute.
But the point is, shipmates, that as we work down this path, we're going to try and be smart about what we're doing. We will make mistakes along the way. We will try and be smart about where we roll out good enough, and then we spiral it and make it better. We'll try and make sure and think performance evaluation. As long as we get that coaching tool about 80% right, you'll help us make it better. When we roll out the new performance evaluation and fit rep, that's got to be perfect. We've got to have a really good plan for doing that transition, and we will. And like the My Navy Career Center Contact Center, right? 2 locations every day, we learn a gap or a seam that we hadn't thought of. So I'm telling you up front, it's not perfect. Don't throw us under the bus because we're trying to change the way we manage your talent, because it's the 21st century and we can do it better. We're already down that path. Your feedback will help make it better. So whether it's Facebook, whether it's whatever forum you want to use, whether it's using the MNCC contact numbers, whether it's seeing us on the road and grabbing us to tell us what you like and don't like, it matters to us. We have lived this journey. We have good experiences and bad, just like you. But you have a team in the My Navy HR team of about 26,000 sailors who are working hard every single day. They care, and we are making it better, but we're doing it because we can't do enough to help you get the job done. Thank you for what you're doing. Thank your family when you go home. Oh, by the way, if you haven't downloaded the My Navy Family app, no multi-factor authentication required. If you want to be a hero with your spouse, go home, show it to them. When I showed it to my wife, She said, wow, did the Navy really do this? It looks too good. And the answer was we had 1,100 spouses that helped us with, software engineers sitting next to them that helped us develop it. We're working down that road, but thank you for what you're doing. Keep your feedback coming. We'll try not to get our feelings hurt, and we'll take what you tell us to go ahead and make it better. Fleet?
Now, CNP, well said. I'm excited to work here. I'm excited about what we're doing. The feedback is hard to take sometimes when you're trying hard and trying to do the right thing, but far and away, the best ideas that we get come straight from sailors on the deck plate and out of the fleet. So we'll put on our thick skin cream, and you keep the feedback coming, and we'll keep rolling, and we'll make this better, and we'll solve the problems that are out there.
Yeah. So we wish you all a very happy Thanksgiving. We hope that you all have a chance to enjoy some well-earned time off. Please take care of each other, okay? And again, we care about what you're doing, and we thank you for that. Take care, shipmates.
All right, so that is it from here in Washington, D.C. at the headquarters of Chief of Naval Personnel. This question and answer session will be pinned onto our Facebook page. You can watch it at a later date. Share it with the shipmates that weren't able to see it. Remember, email us at usnpeople@navy.mil, and that get you on our distro list for our Sailor to Sailor newsletter that we send out every month. And again, follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. For all of you who are out there, sent us your questions. Remember, we're going to try to answer the ones online that we didn't get to today. And for all of you, again, thank you, and a thunderous round of applause for everybody that tuned in today. Thank you very much, shipmates. Sir, thank you very much. Well done.
Thanks.